Okay, very good. So we are now here for our Teachers of Pronunciation Interest Group Professional Development session called or PSLLT, as some of us prefer to actually pronounce this acronym. What is it? And, how can teachers of pronunciation benefit from all of the wonderful resources that PSLLT has to offer us? And I'm so glad that while we were waiting, you did the thing that says, participants, introduce yourselves in the chat. Where are you and who are you? And do you have any particular students that you teach? And what brings you to this particular top session? So besides that, I'd also like to introduce you to my co-coordinators. Speak up, please, Patrick.
Hello, everyone. Happy to be here.
And Randy.
Hi, everybody. Randy Reitmeyer, co-coordinator of Top IG. Thanks, Marcia.
All righty. So, as you know, CATESOL Top, we are tops. CATESOL Tops. Teachers of pronunciation are really great. And we also have a very active interest group. We try to provide about 10 webinars every year, and also are very active in our regional and state conferences. A little bit more on that a little later. We also have a teaching of pronunciation interest group on Facebook if you are interested in that, and that is right over here. Maybe we could have Patrick or Randy throw that into the chat. We also, if you are a member of CATESOL, then you can communicate with us through our Top IG message board, which is easily remembered by just saying CATESOL Top at catesol.org, and that way everybody can get the message and we can talk with each other. In addition, we have a Top Padlet. In this Padlet, we show the purpose of Top, and you can see our top coordinators and past coordinators. And we have some links to recorded professional development webinars and conference presentations, either something that's recorded or perhaps slides or handouts that were released at the conference time. If we have any other news and communications, we also accept ideas and questions here as well as in our own email addresses. Well, who are we going to have at our helm today? This is John Levis, and he is a full professor of applied linguistics and TESOL at Iowa State University. How long have we known each other, John?
A long time.
Okay, so we're aged and we're mature. So we've known each other for quite a long time.
Nicer word than aged, yeah.
Yes, okay, very good. Okay, and as you may know, he's a Californian, really, but Iowan by choice, right? How long have you been in Iowa?
Since 2000, so 23 years.
Okay. So still the better part of your life in California?
No,
you traveled around, right?
Yeah. I moved to California when I was 17 years old.
Okay.
And finished high school in the South Bay area. And then I went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo for my undergrad degree. And then I left. That's a different story. And now I would have trouble going back simply because it's expensive to live there.
Yes, this is one of the definite defining factors of Silicon Valley or California in general. So there you are in Iowa as the director of the cross-disciplinary linguistics program since 2010, is that right?
Yes.
And you have edited and co-edited and written so many important books in our field, co-edited the Social Dynamics in Second Language Accent, the Handbook of English Pronunciation, Pronunciation Critical Concepts in Linguistics, and Intelligibility, Oral Communication, and the Teaching of Pronunciation. Those have a lot of syllables. So it's really good for us to try to pronounce all of them with the correct stress and intonation. And your most recent book is the second language pronunciation, bridging the gap between research and practice, such an important gap to bridge. What's really important for us today, well, no, all of this is really important, is that John initiated the annual Pronunciation in Second Language Learning and Teaching Conference. How long ago?
That was in, the first one was in 2009.
2009, right?
Yeah.
And in addition, if you couldn't do any more, what else did you do? You were the founding editor of what?
The Journal of Second Language Pronunciation.
Right, the Journal of Second Language Pronunciation. That's a very special kind of background that we have.
Right.
And so today you're going to talk a lot about PSLLT, and tell us what is it and why are we, going to be interested in learning about it. I'm going to hand the baton over to John.
Thank you very much. The Pronunciation in Second Language Learning and Teaching Conference is it's the only dedicated pronunciation conference that is in North America. The only regular one. We've had other ones as well, and of course, TESOL and CATESOL have pronunciation sessions. I was, many years ago, the head of the TESOL speech pronunciation listening interest section, and that gave us a focus. And then CATESOL has always had a very strong focus on pronunciation among the things that they do. But there was never a conference that focused only on pronunciation. And so back in 2008, when I was on a sabbatical in Vancouver, I came up with the idea for this conference, not knowing if it would work or not. And the first one then was in 2009, and we had a nice small conference. Everybody liked it because we had only one session for each time slot, so everybody got to go to everything. We now have usually 4 or 5 concurrent sessions at every time slot, and you don't get to go to everything, but if you're interested in pronunciation, you get to go to pronunciation every time. So one of the things I've always struggled with at TESOL is that they would always schedule 2 pronunciation sessions against each other. And so I would always miss something. So we tried to avoid that. The conference is Pronunciation in Second Language Learning and Teaching, and that was quite deliberate. There are conferences in Europe that are focused on English pronunciation. So the annual Accents Conference in Łódź, Poland, at the end of November, beginning of December each year. And then there's the English Pronunciation Issues and Practices, which next year will be in Tarragona, Spain. But they are focused on English. And when we set the conference up, it was to spread beyond English to research that people were doing on pronunciation in other languages as well, because English, even though it dominates the field, doesn't tell us everything we need to know. And the conference has then consistently been a conference that we see people who work on Spanish or on Chinese or on Japanese or on Korean learners of Thai, or these kind of interesting ways that pronunciation is being taught in different types of language classrooms. The conference has a kind of set format, and each year the people who run it can modify it slightly. So we have normal oral presentations. Okay, they're 20 minutes plus 5 minutes for questions. We have a poster session that is set on the first day of the conference, and we provide lunch for everybody who's at the conference. And the lunch is served in the place that the posters are done. So sometimes posters get put in odd places at conferences, and they're easy to miss. Well, we try to show that we value the poster sessions. A lot of presentations work better at a poster session, where you can talk to people in more depth than you can in an oral presentation. And it allows us to have more people who are at the conference. And then the third piece is a teaching tips session. And this is something that we started around 2013, I think. And I got the idea from this from a colleague who teaches speech. And at speech conferences, they have the National Speech Conference. They have something called My Great Idea. And people present their great ideas for teaching the introductory speech classes. The teaching tips are set up in round tables. So the presenter sits at the table, ready to present. They have about, I think it's become about 7 minutes now, Marcia, is that right?
Yes, that is a short time.
It's a short time. You have about 8 people who can come to your table. And at the end of your 7-minute time, there's a bell that rings, and all of the people who have come to you go to another table. And you get a whole new set of people. So you present, this year at Purdue, they did it for about a 75-minute period. So in 75 minutes, you can present about 9 or 10 times. And people walk away with 9 or 10 different teaching tips for things that are of interest to them. And then we always have a plenary speaker. Some conferences have multiple plenary speakers. We have focused on just having one. And then since the conference that was in Salt Lake City a number of years ago, on the day before the conference proper starts, we have workshops, research and or teaching workshops that are just part of the conference. If you don't get to them, you haven't missed anything in the conference, but you don't pay extra for them. They're kind of our pre-conference sessions. Then we also, for the conference, there is always a first night, usually a Thursday night session where it's an open reception for everybody. And on Friday night, the second night, we have, as part of what you pay for the conference, a catered dinner. And the goal of all of this is to help people network and interact with each other. We get people who are really well known in pronunciation work, and we get people who are just starting. And I remember when I was first going to TESOL, I always was a little frustrated because everybody else seemed to have their group and I didn't. And when you're at a big conference, you know, with thousands of people, you can feel pretty lonely if you don't know people. And what we try to do in this conference, which is really 2.5 days at this point, is to provide lots of opportunities for people who are interested in the field to interact with other people who are interested. We've always been very fortunate that the people who are the big names in the field, or what one of my students once called the famous people, they're very, very gracious, and they don't they make themselves very available to people who are brand new in the field. That's been the goal of the conference. It's now been going for 14 years. We missed 1 year with COVID. The second year of COVID, we had a virtual conference, which was quite well received. I think we had 360 people come to it. We never have that much in face to face, so it's a relatively small conference. This year, Donna may be able to help me on this, but I think this year it was probably around 130 to 150. So that's the background of the conference. We have people who will present on things that are in pronunciation, that if you're a teacher primarily, you'll go, well, that was interesting. I wonder how I would ever take that to the classroom. And then we have people who come at it from a teacher's mindset, and focus on pedagogically interesting questions. But the conference always has that very strong teaching connection. And it's what I've always had in my own life, and it's kind of the conference I wanted to have. I think when you're talking about pronunciation research, you have to think about it from a point of view of how do you teach these things, or what's interesting here to teach, because that's how most of us got into the field in the first place. So there are some questions that people have put in. Maya, you said, how can we find out about the conference that you're describing? If you type in PSLLT, or as the Canadians say, PSLLT, you Marcia doesn't like that one. Okay. You will see things. The next conference, someone else said, where will it be? It will be here in Ames in the middle of September next year. It will be the 15th annual conference, and I wanted it to be back here. So I offered to do that. So one of the other things that has come out of the conference is a proceedings of the conference. So the proceedings, at least the way we do the proceedings, is somewhere between the newsletters that we get from places like TESOL and journals, which are often behind paywalls. We have always had a proceedings of the conference. After the conference, anyone who has presented in any shape, so as a poster, as a plenary speaker, as a oral presentation, as a teaching tip, or as some of the pre-convention workshops, can write up their paper for the proceedings. They're limited to 4,000 words, and they're freely available. We have about 400 articles over the years of the conference that you can get at the website that is there, which is, I'll put it into the link or into the chat. And it's the proceedings, they're held, or they're offered through the Iowa State Digital Press right now. And if you go to issues, what you see is the different volumes of the proceedings over the years. Okay, and any of these are maybe of interest. When you get up to around the 2014 time, it's when you start to see teaching tips come in as well. When I had the journal start, I thought that the proceedings would go away, but a lot of people liked having them, and so they're a way that people who typically don't write journal articles have a way to share the work that they presented at the conference to a wider audience. And these are used around the world. People are interested in them. One of the other things that just came out, if you want to do this instead, there's this best of teaching tips item here. Some of my students and some other colleagues from around the world went and looked back at all the teaching tips that we've had up to this point, and they picked out the ones that they thought were the best. And they put them into a collection that if this is what you're interested in, you can go in and see what people have done. We have Marcia Chan, who I think you have 2 of the teaching tips. I didn't tell them to pick you, but
I saw 3, but that was
3. Was it 3? Okay.
I think there must have been a tilt somewhere.
Yeah, Donna Brinton has one of the, that was a great teaching tip. I remember that one. Ines Martin. Anyway, these are all really interesting kinds of things that people have presented at the conference and then written up so that you can make use of them.
Keep scrolling so they can see.
Okay.
And there's you and Greta.
Yeah,
Nation.
I have I have one. I may have 2. I don't know. I didn't tell them to include mine, so yeah. There's another Marcia. Okay. An ASR tool that was developed. Oh, there's your Marcia's best title teaching tip. Anyway, there's a lot of really interesting things, and these are not the only teaching tips. These are just the ones that these editors chose to re-highlight so that people could see some of these things again. Maybe they had forgotten them or never seen them, and this was their idea of making them available yet again. A lot of technology in here. Selfies. That was one of the, as we say in the Midwest, funnest teaching tips that I've gone to. And then video voiceovers. Yeah. So we don't have a website up for next year's conference yet, but I will make sure that I share that with the TOP group when we get it. So other things I haven't looked here. I put in the chat the link for this. Donna or Marcia, you've been
Oh, you know what I was thinking would be kind of interesting is if we could all put ourselves on gallery view for the moment when we're not actually doing any slides. If you guys could go to your top right where it says view and put yourself on gallery so we're all in the same room. And if you feel comfortable expressing or letting us see what you look like, yeah, you could turn on your camera, you know, do the pronunciation thing where you show your mouth and all those articulators, or the ones that are above here. At the bottom of your screen, to the right of your green share button, there is a thing that says reactions. And I wondered how many people have, first of all, been to a PSLLT conference. Could you put your hand, raise your hand? Did you put your hand up in the, what do you call it? In the reactions. Okay, so when I look at the gallery, I see that Donna has been there and been a presenter. We've actually done some co-presenting. Alan has been, and of course, John. All right, great. And now put your hands down, lower your hand. That means you have to press the button again. And then I would like to know if in this group, any of you have ever accessed the PSLLT conference proceedings, one or more of the conference proceedings. Then again, raise your little digital hand to show that you have actually taken a look at one of the proceedings. And so now I'm going to ask you, how many people here think that they will go to that link and look at some teaching tips or other aspects, other articles of the proceedings? Anybody here wish to do that? Please put your hand up. You could do that digitally, or if you are not able to do that, you can also do it manually. Ha, ha, ha. Okay, and some of you have no cameras on, which means it's difficult for us to see whether you have a hand raised with your actual hand and fist with fingers on it, or the little digital one. But in any case, that's just an idea to see who we have. And it's so hard because, you know, we are, after all, lovers of pronunciation, teaching, and learning. So it's fun to actually see each other and, you know, open mic and talk. So I know, John, you asked a question, and I probably forgot it after I interrupted myself with this stream. Do you remember what you asked us, or does somebody else?
I just, for the people who have been there before, are there things that you like about the conference?
Oh, are there things I like about the conference? Sure. Yeah. It's like, oh, I found my people. Because, you know, like if you're a kind of pronunciation junkie, then this is a real conference where everybody talks about pronunciation, learning, and teaching. I like learning other languages, so I go to other presentations about languages that I don't even know, but I think it's fascinating to see what kind of things are, you know, are done for their learners in of that language, and what might be something that can blend or cross over that we can learn in teaching English. And another thing is it's cozy and small, right? It started out pretty small, right, John? As you
Yeah.
said at the beginning, there's only one session, so everybody went to. There wasn't. Now we're into competing sessions. It's like, how can I go to? How can I pick a session? So it's getting very popular, which is a good thing. But it still has a nice atmosphere. And I think you have really set it up so well where you really invite people to interact. And it's not such a big difference as it is at CATESOL, which is at TESOL, which is so huge, and you feel like, oh, those are the people who are the specialists who are famous and they write books and they do research, and I'm just a classroom teacher and I don't know them, and it's hard to interact. But at PSLLT, I think you really created the atmosphere where we can talk with each other, and it's a little bit more it's more comfortable. And a smaller group talking about stuff that we all enjoy is a nice thing. I like that also the variety of different topics of research, some of which I can grab onto, and some of which is like over my head, but it's like, oh, okay, I'm glad somebody is working on that. I'm not sure how I can use it, but and then we get to the teaching tips where you learn and we share things that have worked in classrooms and are evidence-based, and then we can use them with our own learners. The parties are fun. I mean, the food is always great. What else can I say? And of course, when we go to Ames, the hosts are wonderful. How about Ellen and Donna? Would you like to add something? What do you like about it? How about Ellen?
Ellen?
Okay, let me see if I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you.
I'd like to say that I came into this on Marcia's suggestion. I think I've been to 5 conferences, and I originally was a teacher of academic skills and writing skills at UC Davis, but I always had a side interest in presentation skills and pronunciation, particularly because I have a huge music background. And when I first came to the conference, I immediately felt welcomed. And I grabbed onto the idea of prosody. And I've been teaching that in the courses I now teach. And it's amazing to see the advancement of students in their intelligibility. I wouldn't have gotten that if I hadn't gone to these conferences. And, I'm a newbie, but I've never felt shunned or, isolated. I've always felt extremely, and I even gave a teaching tip. And it was trying to bridge the gap between research on prosody and teaching of prosody. And I'm going to do a teaching tip next year because I finally solved the problem and I'd like to share it. And thank you everyone for being here. When I was president of CATESOL, that's when we started TOPS. We put it through and got it going, and it's a very successful interest group. And I'll be presenting at CATESOL, and I just finished editing the abstracts. So it's wonderful to be here today, and hello to everyone. Some of you I know, some of you I don't know, and I hope to see you in Ames.
Good. We look
Okay.
forward to having you.
I'd be happy to add a few words. Like Ellen, I've been to 5 of the conferences, and I did attend the most recent one, which was really a lot of fun. I love the locations that we've had the conferences at. I love being able, like Ellen said, to mix with researchers. One of the things I think of myself primarily as a translator of research into practice. I'm not really a pronunciation researcher per se, but one of the things that I like to do is, write for teachers about how research impacts teaching. John and I actually, with Anna Wu, did a whole issue of the CATESOL journal that was dedicated to the teaching of pronunciation. And that was also, thanks to the sort of influence of the interest section, the top interest section. This last conference, I did notice that some of the bigger names weren't there, but had sent maybe their younger colleagues. Their names were on the papers, but they weren't there attending the conference physically. So I'm hoping we can entice some of them to go to Ames so that we'll have some of those big names that we can kind of interact with. Of course, John was there, so that made everything okay.
You
'Cause we
can't
could
get a
interact
bigger
with
name.
him. Yeah, you can't get a bigger name. Anyway, those are the things that I really like about it. I have done teaching tips and I've presented papers. I've never done a poster session, but the poster sessions this year were really interesting. And I recommended a couple of them to Marcia as possible top webinars. So hopefully I think you have one of them that's going to be happening, right, Marcia? At least one. Yeah.
Indeed,
Okay.
yes,
So
indeed. Uh-huh.
yeah, so that's basically, what I like about it. I love the fact that that the resources are up there for us. I make very, very copious use of the proceedings and the articles in the proceedings. So I know that a lot of editorial work has gone into putting those together. John's laughing. It's not something that you just patch together. So I appreciate the fact that all that work has gone into making those available to all of us. And if you've never looked at them, I urge you to take a look at them because they're fabulous ideas in there.
Are there other questions that people have?
Oh,
It-
I just wanted to say, John, I believe you're coming to the CATESOL conference.
I am, yes.
And presenting, right?
And presenting, yes. I'm
Yeah.
What's your
presenting
topic?
on Saturday, I think. It's on word stress.
Okay.
I can't remember what.
And I'm sorry, I didn't. My intention was to go through the schedule to pick out things that we're doing on pronunciation. I am overwhelmed with organizing or helping to organize the conference that we're having October 26th through 28th in person here in California at the College of Alameda. And I really encourage people to come. We're so glad to be back together again. Will be our second time since the pandemic closed us all off. And it's going to be at a college venue. So it's going to be a little bit I think cozier than when we're at the big convention centers, and of course there's going to be a strong interest in our area of listening and speaking and pronunciation. So I hope that if you are a CATESOL member, you will pay attention to the messages that I'll be sending out on the top IG message board. But if you are not, the other thing is that we also have an e-list. The e-list is something that even if you are, whether you are a member or not, it's a notification that we are in our group's top, that we're going to share with you the next webinar or the next information about teaching and learning pronunciation. I mean, because I know we get a lot of messages through our email, and sometimes we get too many things in them when we don't read through them all. But this is specifically about teaching and learning pronunciation. So if you'd like to find out what we're doing next, that will be part of it. Since we're doing our state conference in October, we will be having our next webinar in November, and we'll be having Edna Lima and Laura Wallace presenting to us about AI and what pronunciation teachers can do that GPT cannot do. All right, so in your chat, you can see the link to the CATESOL 2023 state conference. And besides being the organizer, I'm also the webmaster. So I will be updating our website with more information about the program. We have some general information about the overall, schedule at a glance, and then we'll be having more information once the program chairs put all of that out on what time each of the sessions will happen. Randy and I will be co-presenting. Maybe some of you don't know this, but there are a lot of CATESOLers who do join our organization because CATESOL is such a great organization. We have people from Portland, for example. We have Maya, right? Maya has told me that although she lives near Denver, Colorado, she has not been a member of CATESOL for 30 years. In fact, she's been a member of CATESOL because of topic. So that's another person who is out of state. Is there somebody else here who is from a distant place? Oh, Nicole. Nicole, where are you from?
Not so distant, but I'm usually in Seattle, although I'm in San Diego right now.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I am not really an active member of WAESL or WASL because they just don't offer any training that I find super valuable. So I'm always attending the CATESOL pronunciation workshops.
right. And you know that the CATESOL has just so much going on. Do you know that we're only charging $30 for
Right.
membership? Now we lowered our membership from $75 to $30. That's a pretty big change, wouldn't you say, guys?
Mm.
Yeah, so we have a flat rate of $30, and we have our updates, we have our blog, we have a newsletter, we have the CATESOL journal, and do pay attention to the one that John and Donna and Anna edited, because it's about pronunciation, and you can be involved in an unlimited number of interest groups. Of course, you want to join TOP. You have all the face-to-face interaction that we can provide in our in-person activities. We've got resources to things that are text and visual and video, and we have our message boards. Of course, if you are new, then we are also very helpful in helping to mentor people. There's also, if you are low on the totem pole in terms of earning money, you may be interested in getting some of our grants, because we have grants and also awards that help you get to conferences. So there are lots of member benefits, and it's good to meet people in your own field, whether you're thinking about pronunciation or other aspects of learning English. So catesol.org, it's the place to be. And so I highly recommend that if you are not already a member, that you consider joining for the low price of $30.
I'd like to add that the presentation I'm giving at CATESOL is directly related to the PSLLT conference. When I heard that we were teaching stress wrong, and it was presented in terms of research, and it took me a long time to figure out how to teach it. So my presentation is directly related from going to those conferences. And
Okay.
also, I'd also like to add that this is the first time we've had the conference out of a hotel site, and it's freed us up to charge less, because when you're under contract to a hotel, you're in constant state of fright. Will we have enough members come? We have to pay the hotel, we have to do this. And so this has freed us up, and I think it's a step in the right direction.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. This conference that we're giving now is so much less expensive. I think comparing to last year, where I think our opening bid for a ticket was $375, now it's $170. And if
Yeah,
you're a presenter, it's even less than that. So
And-
it's really a deal.
and just for you know, the audio equipment, it's $40,000
So we're
if you're in a
really lucky.
hotel.
Right. And now we're at a college that has the greatest, latest and greatest audio stuff and Wi-Fi and internet. So we are very, very lucky to be able to offer that to our attendees for a much, much lower price. So do consider it, even if you are in PSL land. Yeah, what else, Ellen?
I think that's it, and I would
Okay.
welcome everyone to the CATESOL conference.
Uh-huh.
I've seen all the abstracts, and
Yeah.
there's so much.
So much good stuff, right?
Well, not only that, there's so much on the latest technology and AI, which all of us have got on our minds.
Well, as you were talking about, the link between PSLLT and CATESOL, I too have been have that link. So what I presented in 7 minutes in one of my teaching tips, very quickly last year. I don't think it's in I don't know, maybe it's written up. It was something like chopsticks aren't only for eating. So
Yeah.
I'm doing a little bit slower version and maybe a few more details, a little expansion. So it's chopsticks aren't only for eating, and it's about a sensory exploration of the tongue in certain placements and how the chopstick can be used as a tool for those people who have a little bit difficulty thinking about where or feeling where their tongue should go in the pronunciation, the articulation of certain sounds. And I will be doing one on games, if anybody likes games that are of course related to listening and speaking and pronunciation, stress, and all those sorts of things. So those are some of the things that are really fun. And, I've been able to do some of those things at PSLLT. I would just say, go to PSLLT if you can. Ames, Iowa is John's hometown, and I'm sure that we will be welcomed there by John and all of his family of faculty. Right, Ellen?
I'd also like to urge people, if some of you have been listening to this and think, well, here's all these guys that seem to know everything. Don't feel that way. I started from zero, and you can start from zero and grow. Don't feel intimidated, because teaching pronunciation, it has always been my weakest spot in my own learning of languages. And we also have been an orphan. Pronunciation has been an orphan. So those of you who are teaching it are extremely important people. Oh my God.
Okay, I want to let you know that we have fun. Okay, so this is us in Ames, right? And that was in Ames in September of 2018.
Yes,
so you can see that the king is wearing his crown, and we all have a good time getting together and doing fun things and learning. Any questions or comments? Please don't be shy.
I just wanted to say that at the upcoming CATESOL conference, TOP is going to present a review of some of our best tips and presentations that we've had in these webinars in the last 12 months. And sadly, I won't be able to attend, but I'm sure that Marcia and Randy are going to do a tremendous job summarizing everything.
Okay, well, thank you so much to everyone for coming to this session, and especially to John for presenting to us the wonderful things about PSLLT. We look forward to seeing as many of you as possible in person next month, but if not, then we will be certainly available online in November. Just go to CATESOL.org and go to our calendar on the right, and you'll be able to see what our top events are on the calendar, and then go ahead and register. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody. I look forward to seeing you next month.